In this video, I will be making a Cheshire Cat plushie by Choly Knight, and you can get this free pattern on her website. I'll put the link in the description. I'm going to make a variation of this gray and blue one, as you'll see in the video, and we should get started. So the first thing you want to do is print out your pattern pages and cut them out. I sped this up so you didn't have to watch the whole thing. On this part, I'm just showing you that you got a little triangle right there. You want to cut out a triangle the opposite direction so that when you cut out your fabric, you have those little markers that help you line everything up. You do want to line up your pages. Use the little diamond that she has on the page, and that helps you line your pages up so that you can have the larger pieces that overlap a few pages and be able to see where they line up really well. There's quite a few pieces to this pattern since there's stripes in it, so it does take a little bit longer to cut everything out. Here I am laying out the pieces on my fabric. You want to make sure your stretch and your nap is going the right way, and she has very good arrows that say which way is which for the stretch and the nap. You line them out on the colors you want, you can pin them down, trace them. You can see that I skipped you watching me cut them out for time management reasons, and now I'm getting ready to embroider them. I'm starting with the eyes. I like to do the last stitch that she has available first, so that you can line up your pieces, because I pre-cut them, and then it makes it so that you have them in the right spot, and then you can embroider them like you see here. However, if you download her patterns and it comes with the embroidery file, she does have that last stitch as a way to line up for you to cut afterwards. So it's more like a preference on if you want to do it before or after. I like to cut mine out first. That's just what I prefer, but not everybody's the same. On the face, you want to do the first stitch first so that you know where to put the white for the teeth. And then you want to tape that down so it doesn't get caught up in your machine. And then it stitches out a couple times around. And the next part, you trim it very, very close to the gray without cutting it, of course. And if you don't cut it really close and get the fuzzies off, it messes up your next stitch, so you want to make sure that's really clean. Another option, if you do not have an embroidery machine like a lot of people, is to applique the eyes or the face and the feet on. She gives very good instructions on how to applique, and you would use the last page of her pattern pages to use the applique and use fusible web. Now I'm stitching out the markers for the feet. I figured out if you rotate some of them, you can fit both the front feet and the back feet on one 5x7 hoop. All these little toes have a ton of little jump stitches, so make sure you take the extra time to clean up your jump stitches and the top stabilizer that gets stuck in there sometimes. So here's all our embroidered pieces, and now we're ready to sew. We do all the darts on the face first, the top of the face and the bottom. The bottom darts were kind of tricky because they got very close to the teeth, but just go slow. Now I'm sewing the top of the face and the bottom of the face together. You do want to add a few stitches in the very middle, and then sew from the middle towards one side of the face, and then again from the middle to the other side. That keeps it straight and without twisting, and it makes it look much better. I did skip a step. If you're following along on her pattern, I decided to do the ears and the face fluff sewn at the same time, so I didn't have to do little pieces, just two, and then do two more little pieces. Now you'll see me trimming around the seams of the inside of the ear. That makes it so when you turn them, they're not bulky and they lay better. On her paper pattern, it also has places that shows you where the ears and the face fluff go, so that you don't have to guess. Now I'm getting ready to sew the back of the head, and coming up, I forgot to hit record when I was sewing the back of the head to the front of the head. That's why there's that missing clip. I apologize for that. Now I'm sewing the body stripes. It does help to lay these out before you start sewing them so you know which ones go where. When you're getting ready to sew the belly together, make sure your seams are lined up really well so that there's not like a zigzag to them. It looks much nicer when you put extra time in lining up the seams. Here I'm finishing the body end. On this part you do want to leave an opening so that you can turn your plushie. I made my opening a little small, so it took me a little extra time to turn it. Here I'm cutting out the pouch, or the pellet pouch. I just like to use muslin, and I cut it when I'm ready for it so it doesn't get lost. It is recommended to hand sew your pellet pouch shut. I use my machine. I know it risks breaking a needle. I go slow and really pay attention to keeping those pellets out of the way. So you want to partially stuff your plushie with polyfill and then add the pellet pouch. Again, my opening was a little small, so even getting the pouch in there was hard. And then you fill the rest with polyfill. Make sure that poly pellet pouch stays towards the belly so that it keeps the plushie from rolling. I also stuffed the head because we are going to be ladder stitching it to the body. I started by ladder stitching the hole in the body shut first. You'll see my kids walk up and ask me questions and stuff in the background throughout a lot of this video. When ladder stitching the head on, you want to hold it in place while you're stitching around, and make sure your seams for the belly and your poly pellet pouch are on the bottom. Now that the body and head are done, it's time to sew the feet. This is where those triangle markers would come in place really well. The triangle will show you to line it up with the seam on the back feet, and that would make it so that your toes were lined up properly. I always check my sewing after I'm done, and I see that I sewed over a toe that I embroidered, so I ripped it out and re-sewed it. Now we're ladder stitching the front feet and the back feet on. The front feet you ladder stitch shut after you're done stuffing them. The back legs you gather stitch them shut. Again, on her paper pattern, she does have shows you where to line up the feet on the body. I chose to decide where to put them on my own, and I just line them up on the gray stripe. So I ended up stabbing myself with a needle, and then my light died all at the same time, so you'll see me with a band-aid now. So I'm done with the front feet, on to the back feet. Again, like I said, you stuff them and then you clench them shut with the gathering stitch. I also decided where to put the back feet on my own, kind of set it on the table to see where the feet would look good, and sewed them on. When I'm ladder stitching parts on, I tend to go 2 to 3 times, if not more, around every time, so that they're nice and sturdy on the plushie. Now I'm sewing the tail. Again, I like to lay the stripes out on which ones go where so I can just grab a piece and sew it to the next one without having to search for it. This is another part that you have to be very careful about your seams lining up so that the stripes are not zigzag. The tail is gather stitch shut just like the back feet, and then I again decided to just put the tail where I believed it looked good. Alright, here's our finished product. He has a very cute grin. Look at those little toe beans. His eyes are bright. His ears are floppy and tall. He's got a very unique body shape, and his tail looks really good and wiggly. I made this out of anti-pill fleece, and I love him. He's great. Thank you, Choly Knight, for another great pattern.